Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend that she isn't the hot girl anymore after she said the only reason she dated a guy like me was because she has a kid? It all started when things were still new and exciting. My girlfriend and I had been dating for a little under a year, but we'd already gone through a lot together. She had a son from a previous relationship, a little boy who was 5 years old at the time, and his father wasn't involved in his life. She'd been doing everything on her own, but we made it work. I remember when we first got together, she was on a tight budget. She worked a job that paid around $40,000 a year, which wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. I, on the other hand, had been more fortunate. I had a decent job, pulling in $112,000 annually. At first, I didn't mind covering most of the expenses. I wanted to help her out. She was a single mother doing her best, and I felt like I could afford to carry a little extra weight in the relationship. We'd have these long conversations about money. She had some debt, and I encouraged her to use the money she saved from not having to pay for all the expenses to pay it off. I even helped her out with it. She'd been working hard to get ahead, and I admired her for that. It felt like we were a team. Things started shifting after I used a connection through one of my cousins, who worked high up in state government, to help her land a great job with a state contractor. It was a game changer for her. Her salary jumped to $78,000 a year, and she even had the luxury of working from home. For someone who had been scraping by, this was a big deal. I was proud of her. But then everything started to change. Instead of using the extra money to build a secure future or pay off debt, she started indulging. She bought luxury clothes, jewelry, and items for her son that I could tell were a bit excessive. It wasn't that I wanted her to stop enjoying the fruits of her labor, but it felt like she had taken it too far. Boxes were showing up at her place almost every time I visited. It wasn't just clothes for her son. She was buying things for herself too: shoes, bags, makeup. At first, I didn't want to come off as controlling. I figured it was just a phase, she was celebrating her success. But it didn't stop. It got worse. She opened new credit cards, and before I knew it, she was making purchases on Klarna and Affirm, spreading payments across months. It started to feel like she was more focused on instant gratification than on building something long-term, and that bothered me. I tried to approach the subject gently at first. I suggested we create a budget together and plan for the future, but it felt like my advice fell on deaf ears. She started to get defensive and angry whenever I brought it up. She didn't want my input anymore. So I made a decision to back off. I told myself that I would stop offering financial advice unless she asked for it directly. I didn't want to become a nag, but the more I let it slide, the worse it got. Then came the tipping point. It wasn't just the spending. It was the expectation. She started expecting me to pay for everything, even though her financial situation had drastically improved. She still wanted me to cover the gas when we drove anywhere together. She wanted me to pay for vacations, even suggesting I take her and her son on one and cover all the costs. It felt like she was assuming I'd keep footing the bill just like I did when she made less money. For her son's birthday, she asked me to buy him a PS5. I didn't mind, it was a generous gift and I liked the idea of being involved in his life, but then she told me it was from the both of us. The way she said it felt like I had no choice in the matter. It rubbed me the wrong way. So we got into another argument. I told her that now that she was making more money, I wasn't going to be spending as much on her. I was done playing the role of the provider. If she could afford these things now, I didn't see why I should have to keep paying for everything. That's when she said something that hit me like a punch in the gut. She told me that she could get any guy she wanted. That she wouldn't have even considered dating someone like me if she didn't have a kid. I was shocked. I didn't understand. I asked her what she meant by someone like me, and she went on to explain that I wasn't what she typically went for. I wasn't tall, jacked, or covered in tattoos like the guys she'd dated before. She said I should feel lucky that she even gave me a chance. Her words stung. It wasn't just the insult but the arrogance behind it. I knew she had dated some attractive, popular guys in the past, but it felt like she was dismissing me and everything I had brought to the relationship. I wasn't sure how to react, but I couldn't just let it go. I told her that I wasn't sure what delusion she had, but I'd seen her old photos. Yes, she had been the hot girl in her early 20s, but no one was looking at her like that anymore. She had gained weight, and while I didn't want to be cruel, I didn't sugarcoat it. She was getting closer to 30, and she wasn't the same person she was in her prime. I said, "No one is looking at us and thinking, how did that guy get that girl?" The moment I said those words, I knew it was a mistake, but the damage was done. She looked at me like I had just shattered her world. I didn't want to hurt her, but it felt like I was being hit with the reality of what she thought of me, what she thought of us. She kicked me out of her apartment. The anger and hurt in her eyes made it clear that this was more than just a disagreement. She told me to leave and I did. I didn't argue back, but I could feel the weight of it all. I knew that what I had said was harsh, but I didn't think I was wrong. It wasn't just about money or appearances. It was about the dynamic that had shifted between us. The way she treated me like I was some kind of prize she'd settled for, when I had always tried to be supportive, understanding, and generous. I didn't want to be the unattractive person in the relationship who constantly felt like I had to prove myself. Looking back, I regret how things unfolded, but I also know I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay when it wasn't. Maybe I could have chosen my words better, but the underlying issue was real. And I didn't want to live in a relationship where I felt like I was always in her shadow.